Every morning before the world starts pulling you in 1,000 directions, you've got one job: get your mind right. Because if you don't control your mind, something else will. Fear, doubt, distraction, people's opinions, the news, whatever, you name it. So when I wake up, I start by reminding myself of the truth, the kind of truth that reprograms your system, aligns your energy, and puts you back in charge. You become what you consistently believe and act on. That's not just a motivational line, it's a blueprint for how your life unfolds. Most people walk around every day reacting to life, thinking their circumstances are what shape them. But here's the truth: your beliefs are the foundation, and your actions are the architecture. What you believe about yourself, about the world, about what's possible, those things dictate how you move, what risks you take, what problems you solve, what opportunities you even notice. The mind will always work to prove your beliefs true. If you believe you're not good enough, your brain will filter the world to reinforce that idea. If you believe you're capable, resourceful, and worthy, your brain will get to work finding evidence for that too. It's called confirmation bias. And everyone is running on it whether they realize it or not. So the question is, what beliefs are you running on? It's not enough to just hope for a better life. Hope is not a strategy. You have to decide what you believe and then back that belief with daily action. That's the hard part, because belief without action is just delusion. Telling yourself, I'm going to be successful while scrolling through social media for hours is just a fantasy. But when you say, I am a person who creates results, and then you get up at 5 a.m., take ownership of your calendar and put in the deep work, now you're building something real. Belief creates identity, and identity is everything. If you see yourself as someone who follows through, you will follow through. If you see yourself as someone who always falls short, you will self-sabotage when things start going well. You'll start finding reasons to pull back because you're not aligned with that new reality. This is why consistency matters. One action done repeatedly starts to tell your brain, this is who I am now. And once that identity locks in, your behaviors start to shift automatically. You don't need massive change overnight. You need small, intentional steps backed by the belief that this is who you're becoming. Every day you show up and do the thing, even when it's inconvenient, you're reinforcing that new identity. You're no longer chasing success from the outside, you're becoming it from the inside. That's the shift. And it's why mindset matters more than any strategy, system, or tool. Your mindset determines whether you'll use those tools or abandon them. It determines how you respond when things get hard. Most people quit not because they lack resources, but because their belief system couldn't support the pressure. So the work starts inside. You want to change your life. Change what you believe about yourself and prove it with action over and over again. That's how it works. That's how you win. Mornings are not just a time of day, they're a reset button. Every morning gives you a blank page. You either take the pen and write your story, or you let the world write it for you. And most people, they're living on autopilot, reaching for their phones, scrolling through chaos, letting external noise invade their minds before they've even decided who they want to be that day. That's not ownership, that's surrender. If you want to perform at your peak, build something meaningful, and stop feeling like you're always behind, then you have to own your mornings. Because how you start your day is how you build momentum, and momentum is everything. Think of it like this: your brain wakes up like a sponge. It's fresh, it's clean, and it's waiting for input. That first hour determines the direction of your thoughts, your focus, and your energy. If the first thing you absorb is negativity, distraction, or other people's priorities, then don't be surprised if you're scattered, reactive, and frustrated all day. But if you start with intention, if you take just 30 minutes to move your body, train your mind, and map out your priorities, then you set yourself up to win. You're not chasing your day anymore, you're leading it. Owning your morning doesn't require some fancy routine. You don't need to meditate for an hour, drink mushroom tea, or journal in 10 colors. What matters is building habits that anchor you, habits that remind you who you are and what matters most. For me, it's a few non-negotiables. I move, I plan, I affirm, I move my body to wake up my system. I plan my day so I know what matters most. And I affirm the mindset I need to lead, to sit. Simple but powerful, because every one of those things is a signal to myself I'm in control. I'm not waiting for motivation. I'm not waiting for the right moment. I'm building it right now. What people don't realize is that discipline in the morning creates freedom later. When you win your morning, you stop letting emotions dictate your schedule. You stop falling into other people's chaos. You stop wasting time on things that don't move you forward. Instead, you move with clarity. You operate with purpose. You create results while everyone else is still trying to wake up. The truth is, you don't rise to your goals, you fall to your systems. And your morning is the system that everything else is built on. If you get that right, the rest of the day becomes 10 times easier. Not perfect easier, because you've already made the most important decision of the day to lead, not follow. To show up with energy instead of excuses. That's what owning the morning looks like. It's not about perfection. It's about presence, power, and preparation. You decide who you are, then you act like it before the world gets a chance to tell you otherwise. The words you speak to yourself shape everything. Most people don't realize they're running an internal script every single day, and that script is either pushing them forward or holding them back. If you keep telling yourself you're not ready, that you're behind, that you're not good enough, eventually you'll start believing it. And once you believe it, your brain will find ways to make it true. That's the trap. It's not the circumstance holding people down, it's their language. What you say becomes what you believe becomes how you behave, and how you behave becomes your results. That's why self-talk isn't some soft, fluffy practice. It's a performance tool. It's strategy. High performers talk to themselves differently. They use language that builds confidence, commands focus, and triggers action. When things go sideways, they don't say, "This always happens to me." They say, "I've trained for this. I've got what it takes." It's not about pretending, it's about choosing a more empowering perspective, then reinforcing it with words that carry weight. The language you use when you're under pressure, when you're tired, when you feel like quitting, that's when your real mindset gets exposed. That's the test. If you're always saying, "I'll try," you've already planted doubt. If you're saying, "I hope it works," you've already given up control. Hope is passive. Power is active. You want to shift your mindset, shift your language. Start saying, "I will figure it out. I don't stop when it's hard. I double down. I finish what I start." That kind of language programs your mind to see obstacles differently. It gives your brain a new lens to operate from. And once that becomes your norm, you start attacking problems instead of avoiding them. It's the same in how you describe your identity. Don't say, "I'm trying to become more disciplined." Say, "I'm a disciplined person." Don't say, "I'm trying to build confidence." Say, "I am confident and I act even when I don't feel it." Your brain listens, your body listens, you become the words you repeat. That's why you need to speak powerfully, especially when no one's watching. The private conversations you have with yourself are the ones that shape your public results. Most people don't have a results problem, they have a language problem. Fix that and everything starts to shift. You don't need to lie to yourself, but you do need to lead yourself. You need to become intentional with your words, the same way an athlete is intentional with their training. Speak like someone who's going places. Speak like someone who takes ownership. Speak like someone who expects to win, not because it's easy, but because they're willing to do the work. Every time you open your mouth, whether out loud or in your head, you're either programming your brain for performance or for procrastination. Choose wisely. Because your language isn't just a reflection of your mindset, it's the engine behind it. Every day you're having a conversation with yourself, whether you realize it or not. That inner dialogue, that constant stream of thoughts, becomes the foundation of your identity. And identity is everything. You don't act out of motivation, you act out of who you believe you are. So when you tell yourself something daily over and over, your brain starts to treat it as truth. That's how identity is formed. Not in one big moment of inspiration, but in consistent repetition. Every time you say, I'm disciplined, even when it feels like a stretch, you're casting a vote for that version of yourself. And over time, that version wins. That's why self-talk isn't optional. It's not something you do when you feel good. It's a daily discipline. It's a decision to lead your mind before it gets hijacked by doubt, fear, distraction, or other people's agendas. Because the world is always talking. Social media, the news, your inbox, the people around you, everyone is trying to shape how you think and feel. If you're not speaking to yourself on purpose, you're being shaped by default. And nobody wins in default mode. You have to take the mic. You have to say, this is who I am. This is where I'm going. And this is how I show up no matter what. It's the repetition that matters most. Once is not enough. You don't say it once and expect everything to change. You say it every single day, especially when it's hard to believe. That's when it counts the most. That's when it plants the deepest roots. When you're tired, frustrated, behind schedule, that's when your mind is most vulnerable. And if you let the wrong thoughts dominate in those moments, they start writing your story for you. But when you step in with intentional self-talk, you rewrite the script. You say, I'm built for this. I don't fold when it's tough. I rise. That kind of talk doesn't just hype you up. It aligns your behavior with your goals. And here's the thing, identity drives direction. If you see yourself as someone who finishes what they start, you'll push through the hard parts. If you see yourself as someone who leads with energy, you'll bring that into every room you enter. But if you see yourself as someone who always quits, who's always stuck, who never catches a break, then your decisions and actions and habits will follow that script. So the work is internal first. You have to decide the kind of person you want to become and then speak that identity into existence every morning, not someday, today. That daily repetition becomes your mental compass. It helps you make decisions faster, say no to things that don't align, and stay focused when everyone else is chasing shiny distractions. This is how long-term direction is created. Not by setting goals once a year, but by building identity through consistent self-talk. That's the hidden work no one sees, but everyone feels when you walk in the room. Because when you know who you are, everything else gets clear.